Most Christian marriages today follow a pattern that began thousands of years ago, but very few people know where it started. It didn't begin with romance. It began with a father's concern, a servant's risky prayer, and a woman who chose to leave everything behind. No dating, no grand proposal, no guarantee, just faith. This is the story of how God shaped marriage through Isaac and Rebekah, and how that design still influences Christian marriages today. Watch closely, because this is more than history. It's a blueprint. Isaac had grown into a man, strong enough to carry the promise, old enough to feel its weight. Yet something was missing. Not loudly, not urgently, but like a silence that stayed too long. Abraham watched his son, and beyond his son, he watched the future. The promise was alive, but it had not yet continued, and destiny does not wait forever.
Abraham had walked through fire and come back unchanged in faith. The hardest test was behind him, but responsibility still remained. God had given a promise: land, people, generations. Isaac was that promise. But a promise standing alone cannot become a nation. Abraham did not act out of fear. He acted out of understanding. Faith does not end with survival. It moves toward continuation. The decision was clear. Isaac needed a wife. Not chosen by convenience, not shaped by the land they lived in. This was not rejection. This was protection. Abraham entrusted the task to his servant, not to control the outcome, but to guard the promise. Stewardship, not manipulation. Trust, not force. The future was placed into faithful hands. The road stretched long and unfamiliar. Each step carried more than distance. It carried responsibility. The road stretched farther than expected. Dust clung to skin. Heat pressed down without mercy. The camels moved slower now. Water skins felt lighter each day. What began as a mission was becoming a test of endurance. By evening, they saw it. Stone walls in the distance. A small settlement. A well. The caravan stopped. Camels lowered their heads. Throats dry. Steps heavy. The servant dismounted slowly. He did not rush. He stood beside the well as the noise of travel settled into silence. He knew this was more than a resting place. This was the moment. He did not ask for wealth. He did not ask for beauty. He did not ask for ease. He asked for something harder to see: character. Let the right woman come. Let her reveal herself through kindness. Let generosity speak before words do. If she offers water, not only for him, but for the thirsty animals as well, then the answer will be clear. And when the prayer ended, he waited, not anxious, not controlling, just watching, as evening light softened the stone around him. As the sun lowered, young women began to arrive at the well. Among them was one. She carried a jar on her shoulder, her steps steady, unhurried. She lowered the jar into the well, drew water, lifted it with practiced strength. The servant stepped forward. He asked for a drink. She did not hesitate. She lowered the jar from her shoulder and let him drink. Then she looked at the camels, dust-covered, kneeling, thirsty from the road. Without being asked, she spoke again. She would draw water for them too, and she did. Back and forth to the well, again and again. Water poured into the trough. The camels drank deeply. It was not a small task. 10 animals, heavy buckets, repeated effort. She did not complain. She did not pause to be noticed. She simply finished what she began. The servant said nothing. He watched. The sign he had asked for was unfolding in front of him, not through spectacle, but through willingness. When the camels finished drinking, the servant stepped closer. He asked her name. He asked whose daughter she was. She answered plainly. She was the daughter of Bethel, granddaughter of Nahor. The servant froze for a moment. This was the very family he had traveled to find. He bowed his head. not in surprise, but in gratitude. Before anyone else could speak, he brought out gifts, a gold ring, bracelets, not to purchase her, but to honor what had just happened. He asked if there was room in her father's house for him and his men to stay. She said there was, and she ran ahead to tell her family what had happened at the well. Her family listened carefully. The servant was welcomed inside. He was given food, but he refused to eat until he explained why he had come. So he told them everything about his master, about the promise given years before, about the son who now needed a wife, about the prayer at the well, and about their daughter. He left nothing hidden. The room fell quiet. This was no ordinary request. To leave home, to travel far, to marry a man she had never met. Her brother and father answered carefully. If this matter had truly been guided by God, they would not stand in the way. But the final question was not theirs to answer. They called her. They told her the proposal. They asked plainly, would she go with this man? There was no pressure in the room, no celebration, only a choice. And she answered simply, she would go. Not because she knew the future, not because she had seen the land, but because she believed this was the right path. And by morning, preparations began. The journey back took time. The servant led the caravan south, toward the land where his master's son lived. One evening, as the sun lowered, a man was walking alone in the field. He had gone out to pray. Rebekah saw him from a distance. She asked the servant who he was. The servant answered, "It is my master's son." She lowered herself from the camel and covered herself with a veil. The caravan stopped. The servant approached the man and told him everything that had happened, from the prayer at the well to the answer that followed. The man listened. Then he brought her into his mother's tent. She became his wife. There was no spectacle, no grand display, only a quiet beginning. And in time, he loved her. The promise that began before either of them now had a home. Years passed. The tents remained. The land remained. But one thing did not come easily. They had no children. The waiting returned. This time, it was personal. The man prayed for his wife, not once, not casually. He prayed earnestly that she would conceive. And in time, she did. When she became pregnant, something was unusual. The struggle within her was strong. She felt conflict even before birth. She sought understanding, and the answer came. 2 nations were within her. 2 peoples would be separated from birth. The older would serve the younger. When the time came, she gave birth to twin sons. The first emerged red and covered in hair. The second followed, grasping his brother's heel. They were named. Their differences were clear from the beginning. The promise did not end with one child. It moved forward through complexity, through tension, through generations yet to unfold. Abraham lived long enough to see the promise continue. He saw his son married. He saw grandchildren born. After a full life, 175 years, he died in peace. He was buried beside his wife. But what began with him did not end there. His son carried the promise. His grandsons carried it further. Children became fathers. Families became tribes. Even when Abraham was no longer present, his legacy continued. Generations rose from the faith he chose, and the promise kept moving forward. Not loudly, not quickly, but faithfully.
This story is not only about a journey. It is about how marriage was meant to begin. It did not begin with attraction. It began with responsibility. A father thought about legacy. A servant prayed for character. A woman chose obedience over comfort. A man received his wife with quiet honor. Marriage, in this story, was never casual. It was intentional. It was prayerful. It was rooted in faith. The servant did not look for beauty first. He looked for kindness. He looked for generosity. He looked for a heart revealed through action. That is the foundation of a godly marriage. Character before charm. Service before self.
faith before feeling. Rebekah chose to leave her home, not blindly, but believing that God was directing her steps. Isaac welcomed her with dignity and patience, and the scripture says he loved her. Love came after covenant. Affection grew inside commitment. That pattern shaped generations. Christian marriage today still carries that same design. It is not built only on emotion. It is built on covenant. It is not sustained by passion alone. It is sustained by prayer. When waiting returned in their lives, they did not turn against each other. They turned toward God. And in time, He answered. Marriage in God's design is partnership in promise. It is two people walking toward the same purpose. It is faith shared, burdens shared, future shared. Legacy is not built in a moment. It is built through daily obedience. And long after one generation passes, the faithfulness inside a marriage can continue shaping families for years to come. Because when God is at the center, marriage is not just about two lives joining. It is about generations being formed.